Future security right there.
Good evening, everybody. We welcome you to board meeting. We're kind of on a tight schedule. I don't want to be tardy. But we welcome those who are virtual and those who are attending with us in the boardroom. It's good to see your smiling faces, even though they're covered, but we welcome you tonight. We will begin our meeting by a pledge of allegiance conducted by our business administrator, Dr. Robert Peterson, please.
Repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Robert. Board, our first item on the agenda is the consent calendar, and I'd entertain a motion to accept. So moved by Doug.
Second.
Second by Paul. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, motion carries. Thank you very much. Our very first item on the agenda is the presentation of proposed fee schedule for the 21-22 school year. Clyde Moore, please.
President Ritchie, Board, Superintendent Stevens. Okay. President Ritchie, Board, Superintendent Stevens. The District Fee Committee is seeking the Board of Education approval on the school fees and spend plan for the 2021-2022 school year. This information provided was gathered by working with the Fee Committee, who in return shared the information with their schools and departments for feedback. On April 14, 2021, the changes and updates made to the school fees and spend plan were presented to the board and also open for public comment for first reading. With no concern from the board or the public from the first reading, we would like to present the 2021-2022 school fees and spend plan to the board for second reading. The District Fee Committee believes that the updated fee schedule and spend plan created transparency for all schools, students, and community, and also created equity for all students.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Before we take a vote, we've got to have a public comment on the proposed fee. Do we have anybody currently signed, Pam? Again, I would just ask anybody in the audience if they are here on the proposed comment for the school year 21-22 on the proposed fee schedule to please come forward or raise your hand. Seeing none, we will close that public comment and we will entertain a motion to accept the fees. Motion by Paul, second by Bruce. Any discussion, board? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Clyde, thank you very much.
Thank you, board.
The reason our room is packed is recognitions. This is a great time of year. It's fun to see you back in the room, and we'd love to hug you and give you handshakes, and we know we can't. But the first item would be the Teacher of the Year for 2021, Weaver High School, Mark Daniels. Art Hanson, please.
All right, Mark, we're going to have you stand up so everyone knows who the man of honor is. We found a PowerPoint template of an Oscar there. And board, Superintendent Stevens, President Ritchie, I knew that Mark would say, hey, that's for movies, the Oscar. So he threw a Tony in there. And it doesn't look as cool, and I couldn't find a template for it, but there is a Tony there for recognition of great theater. So I'm so excited to be here tonight to share on probably the greatest board meeting that we have of the year, where we get to recognize outstanding educators in Weber School District. And we're going to present this first one, if I can point it the right way.
Maybe Trent can do it.
All right, we're going to recognize our Teacher of the Year first instead of last, because the show must go on. Tonight at Weber High School at 7 p.m., Mark's wonderful theater students will be presenting Fiddler on the Roof. And he's never missed a show. It's just probably killing him just to be here and knowing I got to race across town and I got to talk to those deputies out there to make sure that I have a clear sailing across Washington Boulevard on the way back. But Mark is an amazing educator. And it's about time, as the superintendent said the other day, it's about time we recognize this incredible man, and we thank Principal Ernest for nominating him, and selection committee for getting it right and selecting the right person for our Teacher of the Year. Mark has been in education for 26 years. He was a Weber High School graduate and wanted to get back in our district, but he took the first job available for him, and it was at Hillcrest High School, and worked there for, was it 9 years? 9 years there. And to get his foot back in Weber School District, he came and taught 6th grade at Green Acres Elementary. And he did that for 1 year, and the theater position at Weber High, his dream job, came open, and he moved up to Weber, and the rest is history. And so in his free time, he's also a stage actor. And you may have seen him at the Health Theater. You may have seen him for the last 4 years, he's played Ebenezer Scrooge at the Terrace Playhouse in the Scrooge A Christmas Story. So yeah, he's a very talented man, both in the classroom and in on the stage. Whoops, hit something. All right, last Wednesday, a large contingent of district folks went up, and we call ourselves the Prize Patrol. And we got to go visit 5 amazing educators. And as we went up and surprised Mark in his classroom, and probably about 20 of us walked in there with him. And it had to have been quite the surprise. And here on the left, you see the picture of Superintendent Stevens presenting a little basket to Mark. On the right, we were in his first year theater class, I believe, and those are some of his students there. And it was an amazing event because Dr. Stevens started talking to the kids. And he started asking, how has Mr. Daniels influenced you in your life? And these are first year students. They've just worked with him for a short time. And I don't think there was a dry eye in the room. It was powerful, the comments that were made. And Lane Finley, I didn't know at the time, but he went onto Facebook Live, and I guess you can record something live, and he was recording this whole thing, and you can watch it on the district Facebook page to see and hear those comments. But the amazing thing too was Lane came in later and said, well, in 2 hours, that video has been watched 6,000 times. And then when I checked this weekend, there were 26,000 views. 26,000 people had watched that video. There were over 300 amazing comments of how wonderful he was, and a whole bunch more likes. So that's the power of social media when 26,000 plus have watched that recognition, and the love just poured out. So what a great tribute. Now, I liked it so much Wednesday, hearing the kids talk, I went back Friday. I didn't tell Mr. Daniels, and I asked Mr. Balloff, can you grab me just a couple kids? I want to record them saying their thoughts. And I walk in there, and there's a whole bunch of kids. I mean, a lot more than I ever had. I was like, oh my gosh. So I spent over an hour listening to the kids just tell me how great he was. And I'm going to share a folder with you that will have all the interviews of all the kids, but I just put some snippets on a video. I want them, and they knew you didn't know that they were down there. They were out of your class. And they said, but we had to come down and talk.
Mr.
So I want you to see
Daniels
this.
inspires me because I have never seen someone so passionate about what he does and about us kids. And every single day he comes and he works for hours just for us, and he teaches us so much. And he's like a friend to us, and he stays here for hours and hours. I've never seen someone who's so dedicated to what they do and is so selfless. Like he gives up so much of his own personal time just for us to have an amazing experience. And I just think it's amazing to watch, and I feel honored to say that I've gotten to work with him and to just be in his presence.
And what I've always really liked is that he tells us that he's not training us to become like the next big Broadway actors. The point of his classes are to teach us to be good hard workers and like more accepting of other people. And so I feel like I've learned a lot from him about being accepting and just learning to love all my fellow cast members and just everyone in life, and just accept them for who they are, and even if I don't agree with them, just find a love and respect for them and what they do.
Then I got to play Pennywise in Urinetown, just this last play, and I was terrified to play it, but his training really made me trust myself and like gain a lot of self-confidence in that role. And every time I go into his classroom, I never leave like uninspired.
So Mr. D has for sure helped me be more confident in high school and really given me a great high school experience. He's really kind to everybody, and his plays have just been an amazing experience for everybody. Almost everybody that I do know can testify to that, and that they've helped either through their personal lives, or they've given them a break from their lives, or they've given them a new angle to life even. Mr. D, he really does go above and beyond for all of his students, and he really does care for his really lucky to have him as a teacher, and really grateful to have him as a teacher. Mr. D has shown time and time again hard work and dedication, and that you can do it and still have fun.
Daniels is probably by far the most caring and the most dedicated and loving teacher that I've ever met in my entire life. I remember being so scared of him, and I think everyone can say that. Because he was so, for being a theater kid, he was so intimidating and stuff. And so I always had this big picture of him coming to school. But he completely turned the tables, and he just showed how thoughtful he was and how much he is dedicated to what he does. And this job for him, he always tells us it's his passion, like it's his love, it's his life. And not only is that with his job, but that's the same way he acts towards his students, his kids, basically. He knows anytime anything is going wrong with us, and he's always willing to be there, like right by your side, and he always wants to make sure that you feel included. And he, knowing him, if he saw someone sitting on the sidelines, he just immediately would grab them and put them in the show.
So I met Mr. Daniels when I was coming into my sophomore year. There was a production at the Northampton Amphitheater, and it was Once on Silent, and I really wanted to be in the show, but I missed the cutoff date, so I ended up just doing some backstage crew for it. And he came up to me after, and he was like, do you want to come be in my tech class at the high school, which I had never thought about doing before. And so he invited me to his class, and I got to be able to try so many new things. And it's led me to the path where I am today. Like, I'm a senior who's been a stage manager, and I get to do so many amazing opportunities. I'm going to college for stage management now. Like, he is the person who has helped me find what I'm doing in my life. And that means so much to me, because now I actually get to do something I love and something that I'm good at and that I enjoy doing, which I'm really excited for. And he's just helped me. I don't want to cry, but I might cry. So sorry. But I'm gonna cry. He's just helped me become the person I am today, and it's really meant a lot to me because he is just such an amazing person who always puts everyone else before himself. And he's just always making sure that his students are being taken care of and that they are always coming first in his productions no matter what. And it's always been so amazing because I have like a mentor, and he's been a boss, a mentor, like a friend. Like it's been so amazing to work with him, to have him as not just a teacher, but for everything else. And he's just really taught me so many amazing things, and I really appreciate everything he does.
So, board, we wanted you to see it and hear it from kids. And there, like I said, I have over an hour of these clips that you get to watch and hear your kids just give you a tribute. And I'm sure that, you know, if you read the Facebook comments, you're going to realize that kids from many years past are on there commenting. Parents, the impact Mr. Daniels has had on their children's lives and how he shaped them. So it's just wonderful. And to finish off, I just want to share a few. Chris Ernest, his principal, wrote a beautiful nomination, and it was a couple pages long. I just want to highlight why she thinks he's so important to the school. One, for his support and service. He's always the first to volunteer, and that's to help a colleague, a student, a parent. He serves at every opportunity, and I heard that from kids, his service to them. He cares about every student, and he will take on large classes. In fact, he welcomes classes that are over 50 students. And so, she talks about some really great things about him, some characteristics, but he's found many diamonds in the rough by focusing on including rather than excluding students from his program. I thought that was very powerful, that he wants everybody to experience what he can offer. He's an advocate, and he's calling and communicating with parents when the students are struggling, but also when the students are achieving, and wants to share their successes and upcoming opportunities. So he's communicating constantly and letting parents know what wonderful children they have. And then he's a motivator. He greets his students at the door and sends them off with a positive message every day. And his room is a safe haven. Not just his students hang out there, even students that aren't even in his class. So, board, I want to present to you an outstanding educator, our 2021 our Teacher of the Year, Weber School District. Very proud of Mark Daniels.
This is so humbling, and thank you so much for this award. It means a lot to me. I always wanted to be an educator, even when I was a little kid, and it's all I want to do the rest of my life. So thank you.
Wait just a minute. Wait just a minute. Here's $1. I want you to turn left, get the toll road, and get there. Hurry! Get the play's on. The play is on.
Best of luck, Mark. We understand.
He might need an escort, officer.
They sent one of our extra ones out the door. We should have sent him with him. Oh, that's amazing. That's good stuff right there. Nice job, Art and Mark and Chris. And it's fun, they have to run off to what he's doing. But our next one's going to be just as much fun. It's the first year teaching award. Cami Alexander, please.
Superintendent, Board, it is an absolute honor for me to present to you our first year Teacher of the Year Award for elementary schools. Rebecca, would you please stand? I wish you could see the smile behind that mask. She's pretty incredible. Go ahead. Rebecca teaches at Municipal Elementary School, and I'm not joking when I say she is a superhero. When I walked into her classroom today, I was quickly amazed. Her kids were busy, and if you go to the next slide, please. You can see her at the bottom, on the bottom picture, kneeling down next to kids, helping them. That's her every day, all day. And when Mr. Chase said, "Hey class, do you want to take another picture for Mrs. Alexander?" It was raucous. Yes! Yay! And you should have seen them when they were lining up. Some of them still have their arms around each other, but these kids love each other and they love their teacher because she knows how to love them. When the superintendent went out to let Rebecca's class know that she was selected, I noticed they took several pictures. I had been looking through them to try and find the picture, and I thought, where's Rebecca? So I chose this one. Where's the teacher? Because you had to point to her. She is small in stature, but she is large in character and competence and in care. So if you go to the next slide, this is one of the coolest things. Mr. Chase has never written a letter for anyone because he doesn't want to take sides. He's like, all of my teachers are amazing. All of my faculty is amazing. How do I separate them out? Well, this year he did. And you have that in your packets board, and I'm telling you, it's a long one. So not only did he finally write one, it was a long one. So Rebecca, this is her first year teaching, and first year during COVID. Everything is going to seem easy after this year, Rebecca. One of the things that Mr. Chase said he learned quickly about her is that any kind of difficult situation with a child, she handles it like she's a 35-year veteran. So this is a gal who knows her stuff because she knows it is about relationships. She's always happy, which I can attest to. She brings joy to her students and everyone who enters a classroom. I quickly felt a part today because the kids were happy. They were happy to do whatever it took to take a picture with their teacher. They were happy to have her help them. And here comes some of the superhero stuff. She had a couple of behavior kids enter her class at the first of the year, and they had had a tough year the year before. So what Rebecca decided to do is find out what they were interested in. And I think it was Spider-Man, wasn't it? So she incorporated Spider-Man throughout her classroom and throughout her lessons. And these little kiddos are not a problem in her class, at least as much as they were, right? But not a problem at all. Yeah, it's just no big deal. So her classroom truly is one of those safe places for kids. And our superhero, does she do positive reinforcement? Not a problem for this superhero. 12-to-1 ratio every time her principal goes in to observe her. Engagement, 97% of the time. Those of you who've had an opportunity to watch a teacher at work, 97% is monumental. To have 90% engagement throughout the day. And lastly, of course, she is concerned about every student in her classroom. She works very hard to make sure that their needs are met. So, congratulations, Rebecca. You are truly a superhero in Weber School District. Rebecca, if you would come up. I know she has another superhero with her.
I can't resist this either. Rebecca, would you let me tell a story? Sure. I met Rebecca Board I think it was about 3 or 4 months ago. I was visiting Municipal Elementary, and Mr. Chase was taking me through the school, and he said, Superintendent, there's somebody I have to introduce you to. I have to introduce you to this first-year teacher, Mrs. Jameson. She is unbelievable. And we just turned the corner, and he said, here she comes down the hall. And he introduced her to me as the superintendent, and I in no way I'm trying to embarrass her. The only thing that kept her there with me was respect for being the superintendent. I've never been around a person who was more on a mission to get something done, and she just wanted to get there. And I knew at that moment, this is an extraordinary, dedicated teacher. We are so lucky. Rebecca, come on up.
Job well done, Cammie. Weaver School District First Year Teaching Award will be Miss Gina Butters. Please, Gina, you're up. I could use that.
Excuse me, sorry. I've got kind of an unconventional presentation for an incredible human being tonight and kind of an unconventional human being. And I'm so excited to honor Derek Gainsforth. Derek, would you stand up for First Year Teacher of the Year for Secondary? Trent, would you go ahead and help me out there? Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I've a forward so I can set a stage and so you understand why I have this prop. A couple of reasons. I'm overwhelmed tonight just personally because I just want to make sure I publicly and formally acknowledge every teacher in our district and staff member in our district. I am so proud of every leader, every teacher, every classified staffer because this year has been an extremely arduous journey. And these folks right here represent our very best, and I'm telling you right now, we have the best employees in the state, if not the nation. I've watched so many heroic things, and I'm so excited to honor a very heroic person in my eyes. I've got a couple bucket list items in my life. One of them is to hike the Appalachian Trail, and the other one is to honor Derek Gainsforth. I've been doing some research and I came across the fact that if you take an arduous hike on the Appalachian Trail, there are people along the way that are called trail angels. And what they are stewards. They take care of the travelers on the trail. They are people that have made the journey themselves. They know what the pitfalls are. They know how difficult it is, how exhausting it can be. And they have the level of empathy needed to help other travelers along that trail complete their goal. Trail angels, and Derek, you're getting where I'm going with this, aren't you? Derek is one of these folks. They spread trail magic, meaning when somebody is just at their wit's end, they might come across, a dry place to sleep. They might have words of encouragement thrown at them along the trail. They might come across a very welcoming campfire. Trail magic is spread by what are called trail angels along the trail. So as I've visited with Derek a couple of times, I was trying to figure out a way to embody this special guy. And what I realized about him is he is a trail angel. He works at New Pathways. You see the tie-in a little bit. I know it's a stretch, but he works at New Pathways. New Pathways is a program at Two Rivers High School where kids end up that are severely, severely off track for graduation. It is the dead end. It is the last stop on the map. And the odds are severely against them of graduating. And if they don't graduate, they tend to end up in adult ed, or they end up out in the community without a piece of paper that is so important, which is that diploma, that passport to life. So Derek has decided that he's going to take this trail and he's going to be the trail angel for these kids. If you go to the next one, Trent, for me over there. I love the quote when I asked Derek, what is his job all about? And he says, and what are you all about? And he said, I want to help kids liberate themselves from their circumstances. I teach them to recognize barriers, label them, and inspire them to overcome. My kids are not misfits. They are misunderstood. I get them. And I want you to think about that. My kids are not misfits. They are misunderstood. I get them. That tells you a little bit about Derek and his journey. Go ahead to the next one, if you wouldn't mind. I'm going to ask Nicole Mibus, his great principal, to come up and just speak to more on a personal level about Derek, if she would.
Thank you so much. I don't know how to follow that. I'm emotional from just what Gina said. Thank you. Just to share something a little bit about my experience with Derek, and to help you understand this, what Gina just explained about New Pathways is, as we created this new program, the Dropout Intervention Program for Two Rivers High School, I knew I needed somebody specific to work with our most vulnerable and fragile students. Students who are homeless, students who have severe high anxiety, students who have had to prioritize working to help support their families, put food on the table, students who've lived traumatic events and have maybe had not the best cards dealt to them in life. And I knew I needed the right person for the job, and that meant everything to this program. I needed someone who could give kids hope, who could relate and connect with them, who was judgment-free. It didn't matter what their story was, he was going to accept them. I needed somebody that was unconventional. This program had to be tailored to the needs of the kids, not make the kids fit to the program. I needed somebody who could be creative, individualized. Each student needed something different, and meet my kids where they were at. And Derek fulfilled every one of those characteristics and has gone above and beyond anything I could have imagined. He is just an incredible educator, and I am so thankful that he is part of my program at my school.
Go to the next one, if you wouldn't mind. I know these are a little bit wordy, and I'm not going to read every word, but look at that beautiful young lady in the bottom right-hand corner. That's Sydney. And I want to just read I've got to read the first paragraph. I couldn't leave anything out. Her words are just sacred and beautiful. She said, when I began the school year, I was feeling hopeless. I was nowhere near the mental state needed to feel comfortable with meeting new people and having a fresh start. My mom didn't even enroll me into school until a few weeks after it started. The first day I met Derek, he immediately reassured me that in his class we were all equal and looking to achieve the same thing, which is success. I went from feeling hopeless to knowing I have a chance. I believed I wasn't going to be able to get where I am now. Derek didn't give up on me. He saw my potential and had hope on me. And here's the thing that just absolutely made me have to lean on this stick when she said this. His devotion to getting me to where I am reflected onto me, and my devotion to myself grew. Seeing that someone cared and wanted to see me succeed gave me motivation. The last line there that she said that I underlined, helping people, this is what he does. He helps people see their purpose in life, gives them hope they struggle to find in themselves, and he doesn't give up on you. If you go to the next one. One of the things I found out about Derek as I spoke with him is he absolutely, and down to his core, into his guts, believes that education is the only path to freedom. And I want you to look at the success rate down below, and you can't see it very well. It's a little easier to see over on this screen, but last year, the New Pathways program's graduation rate was 35%, and in 1 year since he took the helm, it's grown to 48%. Now we're talking about kids that are up to and over a year behind sometimes more. 1 out of 2 kids is walking out of there with that passport to life. Go ahead. Really quick, last student, I just wanted to have speak to Derek today. Derek, in my humble opinion, is one, if not the greatest teachers I have ever had the pleasure of being instructed by. I can honestly say without a single doubt in my mind that if it wasn't for Derek, I wouldn't be graduating. This is Evan. He is always kind, exudes humility. Every single morning I walk into his class, he always asks how I'm doing, and he's never failed to make me laugh and smile. He is a very deep thinker. We've had the honor to engage with him in many intelligent, engaging, professionally constructed lessons. Not only would I consider him an amazing instructor, he's an amazing person and friend. Does that sound like a misfit? That's a brilliant young man. And Derek sees him. One more, Trent. Last but not least, I just want to personally thank Derek because I think it takes tremendous courage and empathy and devotion to difficult situations and difficult people sometimes to enter these kinds of settings in our school district because there's a lot of pain and there's a lot of trauma that you have to walk through with kids. And I believe that people that help people at their most vulnerable understand that it really is a privilege. And that is one thing that Derek has taught me in my short association with him. He sees his job as a privilege. Dr. Stevens, I'll end with a quote that was just recently in the paper I thought was beautiful, said, "Every joy that we experience in life will be the result of a significant relationship." Derek is getting these kids across the line that don't have a lot of hope because he builds relationships and sees these students individually, gives them hope. Derek, I'm so proud of you. Thank you for choosing Weber School District and Two Rivers, and congratulations.
Can't do this without crying. Come on. Well, I think the most important thing that we needed is, or somebody who, thinks radically different, right? I guess I'm not your traditional educator, right? But what this meant to me was support, right? So the most important thing for me was support, and Principal Midas gave me that. And I had some radical visions when I came in as a student advocate, and I wasn't a licensed teacher yet. I was still just, I knew that this idea would work, right? But I needed a platform. I needed a place that I could do it, and she gave me that opportunity. So I owe everything to her. And anyway, I just want to thank everyone for their support, for alternative education, and not giving up on these kids. And I don't know really what else to say. I want to thank my wife also for always like believing in me and these crazy ideas and going along this journey with me for the last 20 years. It's awesome. So anyway, thank you. I don't want to ramble. I'll ramble forever. This is yours too. Good stuff right there. Somebody said we had the best. No, we do have the best. Great example of that right there. And we're ready to go on to another one now. Weber School District First Teaching Special Education, Quinn Carlinzi, please.
Well, let's keep it rolling with another great one. I get to honor the first year teacher award for special education, and it is Caitlin Singley. Caitlin, do you want to stand? Thank you. Another small and mighty one in front of us who is passionate about her children. So Caitlin Singley came to us, and she got hired at HKI Child. She was nominated by her principal, Janine Salt, And what a gem she is. Very impactful with kids, a dynamic teacher who always has the best interest of her kids at heart through thick and thin. So if I can't convince you of that in the next 5 or 6 minutes or so, she works just around the corner. You can go visit it and see for yourselves. She is amazing. The nomination letter came in from the principal, and then more letters came in, and then more letters, and then an email, and more and more and more just came in. All these people supporting her. As I read through the letters, the words just kept popping off the pages at me. I thought, I need to start highlighting some of this. By the time I got done, the whole page was yellow, and then the next page was yellow, and I thought, how do I capture all these things that these people are saying? And so Caitlin's characteristics are listed there, how to change the font, squeeze it down, compact it, and then it was still too much for one page. So then I just had to say, unless somebody said, or multiple people said the same thing, it's not making it on the list. So multiple people have said these things about Caitlin, and we'll let you read through those. A couple that kind of stand out in my mind is the advocate. She is an advocate for her students, every single one of them. She fights for them. She gets them what they need. And then her positivity. We had an incident come up kind of towards the beginning of the school year and student behavior, and there was an injury. And so I went over to the school to check on her and the student and make sure all was okay. And in the middle of what I thought I was going to be a crisis, she was calm. She was collected. She had another student that was having some trouble. She was directing people. And she's like, you can't change it. You can't get upset about it. You just smile and keep going. And I thought, oh my goodness, I thought I was going to go over and maybe give her a hug and dry some tears and buoy her up, and she didn't need any of that. She was okay. She is great. I did an unscheduled visit to her classroom. I just popped in one day, and I was blown away by what I saw. First of all, the top left corner, this is me in the entryway of her classroom, and I was taken back. It has this calming energy to it. I thought, what is going on? She's so detail oriented. She's covered the lights to make them a little bit dim for that calming influence when students have behaviors and are sensitive to certain things. What a huge impact this has on our kiddos. Another thing I noticed is kids are in stations all throughout the classroom, working with adults in a productive environment. Kids are engaged. Kids are working hard. Everybody's got a purpose and a plan and a schedule, and it was just the most amazing thing to see. I was blown away. As I traveled around the room, I started noticing all the things on the wall. She's got the science curriculum on the wall, the life cycle of frogs. She's tied that into art projects to be engaging for the students in the top right corner. The bottom left corner, she understands that communication is key. Some of our students in this classroom have a hard time communicating, which increases behavior. When people don't know how you feel and what you need, you tend to get what you want other ways. And she understands the need for communication. A whole corner of her room is dedicated to communication. The speech teacher values this because she understands the needs these students have. And Caitlin understands what related service providers bring to the table and supports, and she incorporates them into her classroom as well. The bottom middle is calendaring items along with weather, and then math on the right-hand side there in the bottom right-hand side. She puts academic demands on our kids that most people are afraid to do, and she has success, and the students show her how good they really are. And by the way, she does this with online students as well. She's got a classroom of students, and then she has students that are home, and she finds the time to instruct them and give them the supports and services that they need. I'm going to go back to more that I pulled out of the letters. These were phrases, statements that I read as well, and they're that she has a positive impact on the lives of her children. She has high expectations for her children and for her students, and they raise to that level. She knows her students. She knows what they like. She knows what they don't like. She knows what makes them tick, what makes them motivated, and what they need, and she provides all that for them. I've alluded to the advocate piece as well, the positive as well. I like the next one. She honors the feelings of her students, which is a huge piece of her classroom. And then she does what's in the best interest of her students. And I put these pictures here on purpose because when you list those things of how she impacts the kids and what she does for her students, and then the top left corner, as I'm walking around the room, Caitlin walks over to this young man and he lights up like no other. He's working hard, he's doing his thing. She goes over to support and he just starts beaming. And with a teacher that does all those things for him, it's no wonder that he lit up like that. The student on the right, I blew it. I took a video of her. That is not my expertise. And so we got a still shot out of it. Sorry. I pulled her out in the hall and talked to her. I said, do you want to talk to me a little bit about your teacher and some of the positive things and good things she does? She couldn't wait. She made a beeline out the door. She started talking a million miles an hour. My video camera couldn't keep up with her. But she talked about how loving she is, how she takes care of her needs day in, day out, and all the work that she does for her. I continue to make my way around the room, and there's two boys sitting at a table, and they're in the bottom corner. Those are two different things. I thought, what are they working on? And I was an elementary principal, and we had what's called four-square writing. It's a method to teach kids how to write. And I look over and I thought, these kids are doing four-square writing. So I looked over more. They're writing in full sentences, capitalization, punctuation. My mind was blown. And they had a visitor. They could have been distracted. They were right on task, getting the job done. And what I didn't check was to see if they had their name at the top of the paper. And if they do, I was going to say if they do, I would be completely amazed. So they're typical elementary students then. So they get the work done, but don't put their name at the top of the paper. Here's some quotes as I went around and talked to the staff members about Caitlin. These were some quotes I was writing about as fast as I could and only getting about half of it down. Caitlin has made a difference by, and their responses were dramatically decreasing negative student behavior, helping students become self-aware of their behaviors. The staff members, her aide, talked about that she's trusting, supporting, and listening to them and how they felt valued. They knew exactly what to do, how to do it, and she provides the training for them. Her ability to run individual plans for each kid, that is not an easy thing to do. They're intensive kids, they have lots of services, and every single kid has a different need, and she addresses those needs. Positive relationships came up numerous times. The next two quotes I think I have to explain just a little bit. So I walk in, I talk to the adaptive PE teacher. I said, I need to know some things about Caitlin. And she listed a ton of things. And then the last thing she said is she steps with opposition when throwing overhand. And I thought, this gal has written too many IEP goals for PE. And then I started thinking, so I was like, don't put that in the presentation. And I thought, how would she know that? Because she was dead serious. She can step, she can throw. And I thought, she must be involved with her kiddos and participating with them for the PE teacher to know that she can do that. So I thought it was worthwhile putting in. And then the last one is another unique one. We interviewed Caitlin as part of this process, and we said, tell us a little bit about yourself. And she gave us a rundown. And then she said something, and my pencil was going crazy. And I wrote it down, and she said, I have no patience for general education. It's special education or nothing. And then I did a double take, and I had to do the old junior high look at my neighbor and see if their notes said the same thing I wrote down, because I thought, did I hear that right? And life skills is her passion. She loves it. So we want to congratulate her. I want to specifically say thank you for not having patience so that you came to us in special ed. We love you. We appreciate it. And thank you. Can I ask her to come up and introduce? I think she has family. I don't know where they went, but maybe you could introduce your family and then come up for a picture.
I have my husband and my baby out there. So, then I don't know what else to say. I like to thank my dad for teaching me to throw with opposition. I was always taught that it's always an uphill battle when you're in special ed, but it has not felt that way for 1 second with Weber School District. So thank you guys for always being supportive of all your students.
Nice job, Quinn. Our next award will be the Weber School District Classified Employee of the Year 2021. Lori Rasmussen, please.
Thank you, President Ritchie, Superintendent, President Ritchie, and board members. It is my pleasure and honor to present to you the Weber School District Classified Employee of the Year. So Diana Farley, could you stand? Let's give her a hand. So I just wanted to take a minute and talk to you. When we were able to go out, like Art talked about, the prize patrol and see Diana, it was a wonderful experience. Diana has been with us for 5 years. She is the office aide at West Haven. She's the testing aide at West Haven. She's the VEX robotics instructor at West Haven. She puts out a weekly newsletter, and she takes care of everybody. So she pretty well covers the school. So tonight, you might think that we're going to hear about a mild-mannered, office aide, but in reality, we're going to discover West Haven's top secret agent. So, there you go. Now, you might think 007 had some skill, but boy, he pales in comparison to Diana. And like I said, when the prize patrol went out, we were there, and it was evident when we went out. The staff at West Haven started to share all of Diana's accomplishments and her contributions. And a funny thing happened. They were talking, and we were listening, and Christy's telling, and they're just saying all these amazing things. And then a funny thing happened. Pretty soon, the staff was like, "Oh, shh, hush, stop, you guys! Don't tell all of her secrets. They'll steal her from us." And so it was kind of fun to see that. I was able to go back to West Haven a couple of days later and sit down with Diana and spend some time in the office with her and Christy, and also talk with students and staff. And I was able to meet a little guy that Diana helps with in the office every day. He's a diabetic, and he needs help with his insulin. And I was able to speak to him. And we found that he and I shared a love of Chick-fil-A nuggets, right? And he talked about how he loved them. And I said, there's something special about Chick-fil-A nuggets. And he agreed. And I said, I bet there's a secret ingredient. And we talked about Miss Farley, secret agent Farley. I said, I bet she has a secret ingredient also that sets her apart from others. And without hesitation, he said, it's kindness. And he just said, she is so kind to me. She makes me feel good on days that I really don't feel good. And that's a pretty good compliment. He talked about her goodness and her patience. Diana has a secret skill, and I witnessed this, and Christy spoke to me about this. She has secret powers, like superpowers. She's able to decode what people need. And we just talked about that, being able to tell what somebody needs and how to help them. And people would come into the office and ask for something, and she was on her feet, responding to them before they even, needed to ask. And it was clear that there was just love and care and passion in that office. She has a secret calming force, and Christy told a story about being the testing aide. And we all know that end of year testing can be kind of a lot of pressure on teachers. It's a lot of pressure on kids. And there was a student that was struggling during the test. And he was kind of on the floor and feeling a lot of pressure. And the teacher, he was asking for help. He was asking, for help. I don't know how to do this. Can you help me? And the teacher was kind of getting a little bit like maybe frustrated. So our secret agent steps in, and with her love and her calming force, was able to just talk to that student, calm him down, help him, de-escalate the situation, and he was able to continue on with his test. And those are just examples of the daily love and care and passion that she shows each and every day. Then she has, on top of all that, she has this secret out of this world tech skills, right? And that became very evident as we walked into the office. So during COVID, we tried to come up in tech services, and everybody was trying to come up with a way to track their flexible long-term learners, right? And keep track. Well, it became noticed by everybody that West Haven had this amazing spreadsheet that worked really well. And so Christy, they called and said, hey, what's the deal? And so Christy said, well, it's my secret agent Farley's skills. And so she was willing to share and help the whole district out. And that's just the kind of person she is. And what's amazing to me is before she stepped into the education realm, she was a computer programmer. And so what I think is amazing is she has found a niche, and she's reached her potential that has blessed the lives of West Haven students beyond measure. So there you go. See, your secret's out. Like Quinn said, when you ask people to tell of the love and the appreciation they have for you amazing employees, all of you, I applaud all of you tonight, and thank you for your service. But the words just flow, right? And people are just like overwhelmed with the support and the admiration for all that you do. And Diana, it was hard for me to keep up. Like Quinn said, my hand was writing, and as people were telling me. But there were two words that stuck out. Somebody used the word catalyst to describe you. And I had to do a little digging on that. I had to think about that. But a catalyst is a person whose talk, enthusiasm, or energy causes others to be more friendly, enthusiastic, or energetic without themselves being consumed by the task. And if that doesn't speak to Diana Farley, I don't know what does. So thank you for being a catalyst for students and for West Haven. Inspiration stuck out to me, and I had to think about that for a minute. But inspiration is a force or a person that makes people want to do something better, especially to do something creative, a sudden, brilliant, creative, or timely idea. And that also describes you, Diana, to a T. So thank you again. I want to show you an example of her creativity. And this is the office. And she created a student check-in, check-out system that during COVID allowed there to be less contact with people, helped people feel safe by using QR codes. And it's just amazing. Like, I can't even believe the innovation and the dedication to the work. So it's kind of amazing. And then another secret, I forgot to put this one on there, but characteristic of Diana is her humbleness. And Christy kind of talked to me about that. She kept thinking, why am I being honored? And you can see there's so many reasons why she's being honored. But then I want you to notice, and I was really intrigued by this. You see the little, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a FedEx UPS drop-off. She's turned her office into this most efficient, like, right, so employees, like, could drop their FedEx packages off instead of drive around. And I thought, hey, I'm gonna be out. So, anyways, thank you so much. Some comments from faculty, students. The students say Miss Farley is kind. She helps me every day with my insulin. I talked about that. She makes me feel good about being at school, even when I don't feel good, and she is fun. The faculty, like I said, I was trying to keep up with all their words, but the calmest, sweetest soul. She is the heartbeat of the school, keeps the school moving, makes everyone that comes into the office feel good. She's creative and innovative, and the staff gave me the example of that check-in system, which they so appreciated. I'm going to turn some time to Christy Hancock, her principal. I would like her, like Gina said, to speak a little bit more personally to her greatness.
Thank you. We have this amazing team at West Haven, and I tell everyone, I'm sure they're sick of hearing it because I talk about it all the time, but they are just unbelievable. And every day I feel truly grateful to be a part of that team. Those of you who've worked in schools and know that there are so many parts to making a school run. There are so many little pieces. There are so many important things. And there's this team of people that do the support things in a school that make us function every day. And they often get the least recognition. And I feel honored to be able to give Diana some of that recognition that she deserves tonight, because truly our school couldn't run without the wonderful people that I have just seeing what needs to be done even before I know it sometimes. Honestly, the other day, an email went out to parents, and I'm not even going to tell you what it was because it will sound bad that I didn't think of it. But when it went out, I was like, oh my gosh, thank goodness. I forwarded it to her and Deb, my secretary, and I was like, thank you guys so much. And this happens constantly. Like, I can't even explain how many times they know what needs to be done. They see it before anybody else realizes, and they're like, oh, we've already taken care of that. And that is truly Diana. She, like Lori mentioned, she doesn't like the spotlight. She's told me over and over again, I just want to be behind the scenes. I want to sit back here and do my thing in quiet. And she does. She quietly makes things happen. She quietly solves problems. She quietly makes things run smoothly. She quietly makes things better every single day. And I love that about you, but I didn't want you to do that without you knowing and everyone here knowing how truly amazing you are.
Thank you, Christy. And Christy, thank you for your leadership as well, and thank you for taking time to nominate such a wonderful employee. I found this quote, and it seems to really fit Diana. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. And I truly believe that, Diana, you have found your gift and you have given it away. And for that, we appreciate you. So, board, if you'll join me in recognizing Diana as our Weber School District Classified Employee of the Year. Diana. If you just want to introduce who's with you.
Yes, I brought my sweet husband with me. He's been telling me all week that I deserve this, and I keep thinking, just say it more, maybe I'll believe it. But you know, they say to bloom where you're planted. But I mean, Weber School District is some amazing soil to be planted in. The opportunities available to you as an employee of Weber School District are pretty phenomenal. And you know, I work with amazing, brilliant people at the school level and at the district level that make it easy to be good at my job. And you know, the kids that we have in Weber School District, I'm biased, of course, I always say that, but they're the best kids. They're amazing, and the kids are the job, and I love my job. So thank you for the honor. I'm truly grateful.
welcome. Let's give it to everybody. We're done with the presentations. Let's just recognize everybody. And those who would like to leave, you're more than welcome to. We now have some action items, but we'll give you just a minute. Thank you for coming. Be safe. It's good stuff right there. Good people. Thank you to those who presented and those who nominated, and we do have the best in the state, in the country. Board, our next item on the agenda would be the approval of revised policy 4120 discrimination clause on a second reading. Heidi Alder, please.
Good evening, Chair Ritchie and Board. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present this policy on a second reading. Jamie Ellis presented it last month, but really it's a policy that I helped to draft in order to address, and let me try to explain. This doesn't necessarily, it's not in response to a law that has changed. It's tangentially in response, and let me explain that. I think if you recall, I presented to the board on policy 4121, which is now our sexual harassment policy. We were required as an LEA to create a sexual harassment policy in direct response to a new federal regulation that went into effect in August of 2020. That federal regulation was put into place under the former administration, and all school districts across the country were required to implement a policy effectuating those procedures. Our policy 4120, which is what I'm here to talk about today, included up until now the elements or some of the elements that are now in policy 4121. 4121 covers sexual harassment under Title IX. And as you all know, Title IX is a federal law that prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex. Discrimination includes sexual harassment. And with these new regulations that were put into effect last August, we had to pull out that sexual harassment Title IX component from 4120, which is where it has resided for years and years, and create a new separate policy, 4121, in order to comply with the new regulations. And those regulations, if you recall from my presentation back last July, include very prescriptive steps in terms of investigating allegations of sexual harassment under Title IX. And so once we got that policy in place, we turned to policy 4120 to amend that and make sure that we addressed it and identified that any allegation of sexual harassment under Title IX has to be addressed under our new policy now in accordance with these new regulations. And as we looked at policy 4120, we thought it would also be helpful to develop this policy in a way that helps administrators understand what is prohibited by federal law and what has always been prohibited by federal law since the passage of the Civil Rights Act, and then include some specific procedures. One of the things that we've seen in the district over the last several years is that when we get a complaint of discrimination, those complaints kind of fall into two camps. Sometimes it's a complaint against the school or a complaint against the district. Say, for example, that someone is upset that girls' softball fields are not as nice, they don't have a billboard or a sign, lights, as boys' baseball. That would be a complaint against the school that falls under our discrimination policy. We also get complaints that are personal in nature, where a student complains to an administrator that so-and-so was making fun of me based on my disability, for example. Say Johnny was making fun of kids who have Down syndrome. That is also a prohibited conduct that is discriminatory in nature because of that student's membership in a protected class. But the investigative process for looking into allegations of, say, inequity between boys and girls softball and baseball versus allegations of harassment between students is very different. And so we wanted to separate that process and explain that when it's an allegation against the school or an allegation that's brought against the district, here's what we do. When it's an allegation involving students or an employee to a student, then here's what we do. And we created some categories of discrimination and discriminatory harassment. But all of these fall under the federal laws prohibiting discrimination. We also wanted to explain that when there is behavior among students that is sexual in nature, but doesn't necessarily rise to the level of the new Title IX definition of sexual harassment, it's still not okay. For example, kids running down the hallway slapping each other in the behinds, that's not okay. And it needs to be addressed as prohibited conduct on the basis of sex. But it would not fall under our new policy 4121 because the definition of sexual harassment is a very high standard right now. And so the process that we're required to follow if it's sexual harassment would be followed under 4121. If it's sexual misconduct, as defined in this new policy 4120, we would address it as we do with any type of student misconduct. That's the summary of the revisions and why the policy that is currently in place, 4120, is shorter. This is just a more robust reiteration of that same policy. With that, I will answer any questions that you may have.
Heidi, that was done very well, very clear. Thank you. I appreciate the clarification there. And with that, we might take some questions. Let's entertain.
Sure.
I would entertain a motion. You've heard I'd entertain a motion to approve revised policy 4120 has been presented by our attorney Heidi Alder on a second reading.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Jan. Second by Paul. Any discussion? Questions, concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? One. Please note that. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Motion
you.
carries. Thank you. Next policy would be the approval of revised policy 4370, graduation requirements on a first reading. Jennifer Warren, please.
Thank you. Superintendent Stevens, President Ritchie, and School Board. We are requesting an amendment to policy 4370, graduation requirements. This addition is proposed to be in compliance with amendments that were made by the Utah State Board of Education to the Utah State Board of Education Administrative Rule R277-705, the Secondary School Completion and Diplomas Policy. The revised rule would allow school districts to award a career development credential to students receiving special education services through an IEP or a 504 if the student meets the outlined rule. And the policy 4370 in your documents has the proposed language for that revision.
Jennifer,
Yes.
I would ask maybe for the sake of the board, could you
Absolutely.
give just a general example of the value of this for a special needs child?
Yes.
Just to help them understand the significance of this credential.
Absolutely. So something that we look at for students with disabilities are things that relate to transition beyond high school. And so when a student turns 14, part of their IEP, we also begin to develop transition goals. We look at those things that students want to do beyond high school, what types of employment they want to have, if they want to go on to post-secondary education. So with the career development credential, students will have the opportunity to have this credential layered on their diploma, meaning that they have met certain requirements. Completing a CTE pathway, having experience with work-based learning, or seek application for vocational rehabilitation services. So through this opportunity, it's something that students can take with them to help them gain competitive employment, or it's an opportunity for them to have so that they can seek further post-secondary education. So it's a target that we have that we look at a year beyond high school with our graduates. Are they competitively employed, so making more than minimum wage, or are they participating in a post-secondary education program like college or the Applied Technology Center? So this is a stepping stone to that.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Superintendent.
I had the opportunity to speak with Jennifer about this possibility, and because I came out of student services and I was very aware of what was happening with our kids postgraduate, it's phenomenal what this could do for our kids for our students who have either a 504 or a special education, a special need, and how we lose them moving into the community. So I, for one, as a community member of it, I'm very appreciative of what this could do for our students.
Thank you, Jan. Board, you've heard the presentation on the approval of revised policy 4370. I would entertain a motion to accept on the first reading.
So moved.
So moved by Janice. Second by Bruce. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We'll
Thank
see you
you.
next month. Thank you. Board, we've come to the end of our agenda, but we do have need for a closed session. This meeting is a strategy session to discuss the collective bargaining. Roll call. Robert Peterson, please.
Thank you, President. This is for the motion to adjourn to a closed session. As I call your name, say yay or nay. Jan Burrell. Yay. Or aye. You can say aye too. That will work. Bruce Jardine. Paul Whittison. Janice Christensen. Doug Hurst. Dean Obor. And John Ritchie.
Yes.
Very good.
Thank you. Have a good night. Be safe.